Well, what's going on, people? What's good? What's good in the neighborhood? It's your boy, Uncle Fred, back in the house, back in the saddle. I know y'all might have forgot about your boy. I hadn't done a cowboy centric video since we lost to the Eagles and everything. So I'm gonna talk about a couple things I've seen. I'll just kind of get everybody caught up on my perspective on a lot of things. The playoff games, the direction of the playoff games have taken. We'll talk about that, the condition and the state of our ownership, and what we got going forward. And my thumbnail title suggests, it's a sad day for Cowboys. And of course, the next things we do, decisions we make, are critical for what's going to happen or what's going to be like the next 5 to 10 years in Cowboy land or whatever in Cowboys Nation. I think is very critical. The next couple of decisions that we make, I think, are very critical. But we're going to talk about that, some of the latest head coaches moves around the league, who I think we should pick, and those sorts of things. That and a whole lot more with your boy Uncle Fred. Be back in just a second. Again, what's good, people? Your boy Uncle Fred back in the house again. Wishing everybody a happy MLK Day. That's why I'm actually here at this time of the day. I normally would be at the job, but thankful to have a day off on this great holiday. Regardless of what many of you may think of Dr. King, he did a lot of great things for people that look like me and people that don't look like me, to have opportunities and in situations where they can thrive and survive in this nation. And yeah, it's a very special day, and so I'm grateful to be able to share and enjoy it, to do whatever I want to do. If I want to sit around the house today, I can, and if I want to go do something great, I can do that. But it's all because of the contributions and the sacrifices that he made. So happy MLK Day to you, to everyone that's watching. Um, Also, it's a lot of like basketball going on today. I've like watched the uh, Timberwolves and the Grizzlies played earlier today, and watched the Carolina, the Hornets play the Dallas Mavericks and stuff. That's of course, it's Dallas or whatever. So I saw that earlier today. The Knicks and the Hawks, which the Knicks won that game, and the Grizzlies came back and beat the Timberwolves. So just to give you some stuff that's going on in today's sports, but certainly a lot of things have gone down since I last came to you guys, and so we kind of thought we'd get a look at all the things. We're just going to touch on them. We're going to get on to the state of the Cowboys as we currently sit right now. And of course, now, if you're a Cowboy fan, you had to been toe up over the things that took place over the weekend. But anyway, since we last talked, um, we yeah. Since my last video, we lost our season finale to the Commanders, which I came on because I was pissed about the Eagles loss, but because I thought there was chances in there. We could have made that game competitive, and we missed about 6, 7 plays that were stupid, and they went the other way or whatever. So the Commanders game, look, man, if we're being real, we really won that game. I don't really care what the final score says. We won that game. We held Jalen Daniels to like maybe 30 yards passing or whatever in the first half, and we pretty much controlled that game until we, let the let them get a late the lead late on that pass to Terry McLaurin over Deron Bland, which I mean that's fine. Allowed us to continue to hold on to our number 12 draft position, which we went down to like 16 if we had won that game. And of course, now, which most of the people, if you listen to their draft analysis, there's only about like 15 players that got top first round grades. Now, it's going to be 32 selected in the first round because the round has 32 selections in it. But only like 15, 17 of those guys are probably not going to be like first round level players and stuff. So if you get 12, you're at the bottom of what people will consider the, top first round type players and stuff. And I know we need those. So I wouldn't that toe up about us losing that game. But since that has happened, about a week later, with all of the situations going on with Mike McCarthy, he not wasn't contract wasn't renewed, and you let the season run out, and then you kind of didn't do anything, and so it comes to about a week after that, after the next Monday, which is like after the first round of the playoffs were done, we get the word that Mike McCarthy is not coming back. Now, there's a lot of stuff that went into that, and I'm not going to get into all of it here, but I think the Cowboys went into those discussions thinking everything was going to be just as it was last year. And what do I mean by that? Those that may not know, the Cowboys, as much, many resources that the Cowboys possess in terms of like, just sheer net worth. I think they're worth about now up almost close to $11 billion. I think Jerry Jones himself is worth about $15 billion or something to that effect. And head coaches is something that don't fit under the salary cap. It's not something that's salary cap managed, whatever. So what that means is you can spend whatever you want for whatever head coach you like. You're not bound by any sorts of numbers. It's just what you're willing to spend. And I do recall Jerry saying something about, I don't know, 6 years ago. You have no idea the size of the check I'd write for a chance at a Super Bowl. But of course I can't because I got this salary cap that's got me handcuffed, got my hands like this, right? Not so much with a head coach. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys makes $4 million a year, which is like 28th, 29th, 30th, somewhere in there. I think only Shane Steichen, Raheem Morris made less. That's one or two others. I probably should look that up. But really only those made less than them. Just to give you some price points, Mike Tomlin, who the Steelers won't run out of town, makes $16 million. Sean Payton, the head coach of the Denver Broncos, who's got the exact same resume that Mike McCarthy has, makes $18 million for the Broncos. And at the top of the pyramid is one Andy Reid, Big Red, makes $20 million. Now you might say, well, he got 3 Super Bowl titles. He should make it, okay? Well, Kyle Shanahan don't have no Super Bowl titles, and he makes about 17, 18 also. So what I'm saying is we're paying salaries for coaches that's consumer to what they were paid like 8, 9 years ago. Okay, all of our processes are old school and antiquated in terms of what we're paying, the style in which we play, the way we build rosters, all the stuff that we do are kind of old school. So, but getting back to the Mike McCarthy thing, now you knew that Mike McCarthy had hired a new agent. He hired Don Yee. Don Yee is also the agent for, I think he's the agent also for Sean Payton. He's also the agent for Tom Brady and a bunch of other different athletes in different sports. Now, understanding that the Cowboys are a reactionary unit, not a proaction unit, not proactive. What do you mean? Meaning they're not anticipatory of many things. They usually make decisions reacting to something that has happened already. And usually when something's already happened, and it's too late to be trying to put, I mean, you put a roof on a house when it leaks, but the problems probably occurred long before there was water in the house. So what I'm saying is that you should have known as soon as he hired Don Yee that he not taking no hometown discount. You should have known that. You don't get a new agent to take less money. I know that, and I'm not even in that business. Okay, you knew um when Dak Prescott hired Todd France and left his old agent, that you knew he wasn't trying to give nobody no discount. You know, so he got Don Yee. They went in there, and when Jerry started talking about incentive based deals, like, oh yeah, you make $4 million, but it can go up to another million if you win so many games, whatever. And it's just like not done that way, because he's trying to keep money in his pocket, but it's not done that way. Those are guaranteed contracts. And the only reason that Mike McCarthy even still had a job past the 2023 season was because Jerry didn't want to pay this, because the contract is guaranteed for the life of the contract. So you take a team like the Raiders, they're still paying like 3 coaches, and they were going to hire a Ben Johnson, but I think that job went to somebody else now. He went to someone else now. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But they're going to pay the new coach that the Raiders hire. They're going to pay him. They're still paying Antonio Pierce, because I'm sure he didn't sign no 1-year deal. They're still paying. I don't know if they're still paying Rich Pashashi or not, because he was the interim coach. They're still paying Josh McDaniels. I guarantee you that, because I know he signed probably a 4-year deal. Okay. And if it had not been for them emails that was surfaced, they would probably still be paying Jon Gruden. Okay. And they're a low money market, franchise, not like the Cowboys. So that's just the cost of doing business. Yeah, if you fire a coach before his contract is up, you still got to pay him. That's just what everybody does. That's just what you do. But of course, Jerry thinks he's smarter than everybody else. Well, I'm not going to do it. So I'm just going to drag the whole team on a 1-year deal. So all the coaches were on 1-year deal. 35 of our 53-man roster was on one-year deals. And it made for the season we just had. Okay. And I know people like to make light of it. I've watched Mike Fisher talk, well, that's just part of the game. Yeah, that don't make it right. I mean, just because you own an apartment and you well within your rights to evict a mom and her 3 kids on Christmas Eve because she didn't pay, still don't make that the right thing or the ethical thing to do. It's the right thing. I mean, it's the legal thing. But that don't necessarily make it the right thing to do, So, yeah, having all those people's lives on hiatus based upon your whim, well, and you got schools and all these kind of things that are been held up, hey, we don't want them decide to do this because we might not, he may not decide to retain us. So the whole coaching staff was on hiatus while Jerry plays, video games or whatever he's doing, playing God with their lives. I hate to say it like that, but that's kind of what he was doing, when you should have did like the Giants did, like the 49ers did. Which other team did this? The Giants, the 49ers. It was another team was it the Dolphins? I think it might have been the Dolphins. They came out right after the season and said, hey, Mike McDaniel and his coaching staff will be retained. The GM, Chris Greer, will be coming back. 49ers basically said Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and the whole coaching staff will be coming back. The Giants basically said Joe Sheen and Brian Daboll, coach and GM, will all be coming back. That kind of gives you some, it gives you some, solidity is not a word. It makes everything solid. We just playing around. We decide not to say anything and leave everybody on, on lurch. So, And so, of course, now when the thing is, they didn't sign him initially, and then they blocked him from talking to the Bears, which the Bears made a decision today, which we'll talk about that in a minute. And then 2 days later, you know what, man, and it was really Mike that turned them down because of the money that I'm sure that the Jerry was offering. Look, let's not get this twisted. I'm not a big fan of Mike McCarthy. I'm just a fan in doing things right and decent and ethical, and because your character is what you do when people ain't looking. It's another thing when you're doing it when everybody looking. You should always try to do the right thing, and it's like the Bible says in Exodus 20. You should treat others like you want to be treated. You wouldn't want nobody dragging you out and having your whole life on alert while you piddle around with a decision you could have made a month ago. You knew it wasn't right. It wasn't prudent to bring Mike McCarthy back after the season we ended with last year and how badly unprepared we were. And then, but fired to have broke him off and go ahead and give him his $4 million severance and walk and move on. But you was in your feelings. You wanted to make him feel how mad you were and do this kind of stuff, and put the whole team was kind of on an anxiety kick, and I just don't like any of that stuff. But anyway, so they blocked him, and then they ended up, I said fired, but he wasn't fired, but he was blocked from talking to the Bears. So right now, the coaching search has been going on, and of course, right on brand, what do the Cowboys do? Cowboys bust a call to primetime Deion Sanders. Now, look, would I like Deion Sanders to be our coach? Sure. Why not? I do think he brings an alpha into the coaching ranks, because we don't never hire alphas. We hire a bunch of beta guys. Okay. Now, I will agree with Boss Cowboy or something. He said he called him a beta also. But he said it was alpha of him to walk into Jerry's office and see that the deal that they offered him was not to his liking, and basically said, you know what, man, I'm out, knowing he ain't got no place to go, and no job to really go to, but having the opportunity to interview with the Bears, interview with the Saints, interview, I think maybe with the the Jets, and some other teams. Don't quote me on all of those, but I know he interviewed with the Saints, because he's coached there before. Okay. He's coached there before, and of course the Bears, because obviously he comes from the NFC North, coached at Green Bay for 13, 14, 15 years or whatever, kind of knows that division. Of course, I know it's changed since he's left, but he's going to get a job. But there was really alpha of him that said, you know what, man, I'm not no longer going to be your, what, ICTCH. I'm not going to no longer be that. I'm going to take my dignity, and I'm not going to grovel on the ground for this $4.5 million that you're giving me, which I know is the lowest than anybody in the league. So hats off and salute to Mike McCarthy for getting his quinones back, because I didn't think he had any the whole time he was here in the 5 years he was here, because I think he let the Joneses manipulate him, and who gets to play and who doesn't get to play, manipulate him on how to play, what style to play, and not, and hopefully he can go to some team where he can actually do something and actually get to run his own team, like Dan Quinn is just doing. All right, so anyway, so in my opinion, who will they pick? Now, see, to me, and I know y'all watched the playoff games this week. To me, first thing I would have done as soon as that, instead of calling Deion Sanders out, I busted the call before the playoffs started out. I busted the call to the Detroit Lions and asked for permission to talk to Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Now, of course, you watch the games this weekend and you'd be like, no, we don't want them guys. But you need to be careful about those kind of things, about looking at the last game you coached and making a determination. Because I guarantee you, if you just went on the last game that Dan Quinn coached for the Cowboys, would you have hired him as head coach? Yet here he is about to be in the NFC Championship game. As a Cowboy, you got to be like, you got to be freaking kidding me, right? Um, so yeah, who will they pick? So no, I have heard that after they lost, they're on the short list. I know they interviewed Kellen Moore on Friday. I think Robert Sala's on tap for today, and then to comply with the Rooney Rule, there. What's the guy that used to be the head coach of the Green Bay Packers? I can't think of his name right now. It'll come back to me. To comply with the Rooney rules. You know, you got to have two now. And Robert Saleh is one of those, right? Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I wouldn't be upset with them hiring Robert Saleh, long as he brings somebody from the Shanahan tree, because he's got ties to the Shanahans, he's got ties to all of that, he's got ties to also the LaFleurs, which they fall off the Shanahan tree also, because Mike LaFleur, not Matt LaFleur, Mike LaFleur is the quarterbacks coach or offensive coordinator. He's one of those at the New York Jets. And if you like how Matt LaFleur runs his game at Green Bay, which I do, I like Matt LaFleur. I think he's one of the more creative and smart coaches in the league. I would have to go with McVay is probably my favorite coach in the league, and then I go with Andy Reid. But those guys ain't going nowhere. But McVay and LaFleur and Shanahan and all those guys, McDaniel, all those guys were on the same Washington Commanders coaching staff about 6, 7, 8 years ago, until Shanahan left to go to Atlanta, and until then he there for a few years and left to go to San Francisco, and then they kind of split up, because once they left the Commanders, McVay went to the Rams, LaFleur left and went to the Green Bay Packers, and then of course Shanahan goes to the Falcons, and then takes McDaniels with him to the Falcons, and then when he gets the 49ers job, he leaves and takes him with him to the 49ers. And then, of course, after a couple of years there, McDaniel leaves and take, some guys with him, and he goes to Miami. And the tree just goes on because defensive guy was Robert Saleh, and he leaves and goes to the Jets and takes Mike LaFleur with him. And then, of course, they up D'Amico Ryans, the defensive coordinator, and then he's there for a year or two. He leaves, goes to Houston, and takes Bobby Slowick, who's the quarterback coach, with him. So it's a big tree. That's a big old tree. So I would say, yeah, let Robert Saleh be the coach. Your defense is going to be solid. And then if he gets the right offensive guys that he's got associations with, then let him do that. I would not be mad at that. Of course, now I wouldn't be, but I wouldn't be mad at Aaron Glenn. Although you have to keep this in perspective. Aaron Glenn did not have a great showing on Saturday night. Okay, but just like I said, I'm not going to let that one bad showing stop me, because look at what Dan Quinn is doing after he had his bad showing. But in the proper context, I think the Detroit Lions were missing about 7 starters. They were so much a ragtag group after so many, because you got Keely McNeil, you had Aiden Hutchinson, all went down. I want to say Davenport, he went down, linebacker. So they had a lot of guys, Mavens. One of their corners that went down. One of their starting corners went down also. So they had several guys that was down. So they even had Al-Qadeed Muhammad playing on their defensive line. Does that name sound familiar? Well, it should, because he played for us this year. And then we let him go or whatever. He was on our practice squad and whatever. Al-Qadeed Muhammad. He played for the Detroit Lions this year. He played some Saturday. He had a tackle for loss and and a tackle for loss or whatever. So he got to play some. But that's how deep into the bag they were dipping, is that this guy who couldn't even make our team was playing for the Detroit Lions. Okay. And so they were missing all those starters. They never could get a stop against the Commanders, and plus the Detroit Lions turned it over 5 times. So but yeah, I would take Aaron Glenn. If you need to watch the Pivot podcast and him talking about his leadership things, having players over to his house to talk to them and talk about what's going on in their lives, and kind of like, being that whole coach, not just, okay, I just care about you because you get me first downs or you making me quarterback sacks. No, you got to care about that whole person. And so you got to be a certain type of person to do that. And so I would love for him to come into Dallas and change the culture, because that's what needs to happen. The culture got to be changed. Now, a culture of entitlement, a culture of like, it's all about branding and all that stuff. All that stuff got to be changed. What's going on, 23 Dale? Uh, D'Lo, 23 D'Lo. Everything good, man. Everything good in the neighborhood, man. Everything good. Um, but um, but yeah, that culture has to be changed. Um, and people need to be held accountable. Now, one of the things kind of going against Aaron Glenn is that, when they during the game they had X amount of penalties, and they said they kind of lead the league in penalties. Kind of not like the thing. Of course, I like aggressiveness now, but you kind of want to keep the penalties to a minimum, because those are the things that lose you games. I've learned, if you found out anything of the games that went on this weekend, penalties, turnovers will lose you games quicker than your offensive execution can win them for you. How do I know this? Because the Detroit Lions had 521 yards of offense, had 30 first downs, and lost by 2 touchdowns because they had 5 turnovers and about 6, 7 penalties. I'll tell you how many penalties they had. I'll look it up right here. Um, but those things those are the things that will lose you ball games. Um, those things will lose you ball games. Turnovers and penalties. They had 5 penalties for 30 yards. That's not terrible. Not terrible. Not terrible. But penalties and turnovers will lose you games quicker than your offensive execution, and your good play will win it. So that's one of the things that's kind of against him. Now, you might also say that Cliff Kingsbury might be a guy because of the clinic he put on Saturday night, and kind of how he's got Jaden Daniels looking. That would be a good selection for me. Those guys. Like I said, Robert Sala would be a nice pick for me. I like Aaron Glenn. I would say Ben Johnson, but the latter things I've been looking at is like he's not one of them guys that can, because you kind of want your coach to command the room. You want him to sort of, when he comes in the room, it's like everybody watching him, like, yeah, he got your undivided attention. You don't want him to walk in the room and you just kind of continue on with what you're doing and act like he's not there. You want him to command the room. And that's anybody that's a leader of men, he needs to do that. He needs to command the room. He needs to be an alpha. He needs to be the guy when he speaks and he says STFU, you STFU, if you know what that means. That's in that text lingo. Shut the cluck up. You know, you know. So you need that kind of guy. And we really ain't had them kind of guys. We didn't have a bunch of milk toast dudes that just barely come in and whatnot, from Wade Phillips to Jason Garrett to Mike McCarthy. None of them dudes is alpha dudes. None of them. That come in and come. The last guy we had was Parcells. He's there for 4 years. And before that was Jimmy Johnson. Guys that come in and because it almost seems as though these guys are walkovers, because the players need to be able to walk over him and get to Jerry and talk to Jerry if they got problems. And it's almost like the coach basically just punches the clock. He's an employee. You know, So that's just the way I see that. So in my opinion, those are some of the guys that they should pick. Of course, I would say Dion, because he's a guy that can come in and when guys will play hard for him and will respect him and will not try to run over him. And the first time that one of the players passes him and goes to Jerry about something, he's getting in their grill. which is something I thought Zimmer was going to do, but Zimmer kind of got, got neutered to a certain degree. Maybe he got mellow in his old age or whatever. I think he's 68. So I wouldn't mind. So Dion, Robert Sala, Aaron Glenn, Cliff Kingsbury, those would be my guys. If you're gonna do something along those lines, I'd be happy with those guys, any of those guys. But who they will pick, I'm gonna tell you who they're gonna pick. And like I said in my thing, it's these decisions are gonna be very crucial about how our next 4 or 5 years in Cowboy Nation is gonna be, because the landscape is changing. Our division is getting, like Commanders have won 14 games this year, 12 in the regular season and 2 playoff games. When last time we won 2 playoff games in a season? I'll wait. You know when that was? 1995. 30 years ago. Okay, well, 29 seasons ago, but 30 calendar years sort of ago. We not won 2 playoff games in a season, in any one season. So the thing has changed. The landscape has changed, right? So we can't continue to do business as we've been doing it because the things has changed. The Commanders. If what was his name? The former owner of the Commanders. If he'd have stayed there, then yeah, we could probably continue business as usual. We win our 9, 10, 12 games, win a game in the playoff, maybe, and we still be good because you could always just point, yeah, well, we had a better quarterback, we'd be good. All right, fine. You could say that. But the Commanders changed everything. They changed everything. They changed owners. And that's why I was commenting on something that Mike Fisher on the Fisher Report. He has a good podcast too. I like his, but he sometimes is too Jones in front office water carrying for me. So I have to take out some things of his, and because he was like, well, the Commanders, they change coaches and quarterbacks, so I'm like, yeah, Mike, but they also went up a ladder a couple of rungs and changed ownership also. Josh Harris owns them, who also owns my Philadelphia 76ers. I like the 76ers. I don't like Philadelphia as a city, but I like the 76ers. That's a Dr. J thing. That's way back. Y'all know nothing about that. Yeah, they changed ownership, changed GMs, changed offensive, changed defensive coordinators, changed head coach, changed quarterbacks. And they got about 14, 15 dudes and free agents, drafted well, different team than it was last year. Yes, they made changes. And now look at where they're at. Now, you continuing to do the same thing would be foolish if everybody else has done this and gotten here, and you want to continue to do this and stay here. Because let's pay attention here. There are teams that was way down below us and now have caught us and passed us, and we're still in the same place. Detroit's one of those cities. Detroit was an 0-16 team while we were like at the position we are right now. And they went up, went to the playoffs in 2014, back down. Okay. And then, I think it's a couple of years and they won 4 or 5 games. And then back up now, they won 15 this year. While we're still at the same place doing the same things. But yeah, those are guys I would pick. Who the Cowboys will pick? If I was a betting man and I'm not, I would say Kellen Moore. Because he's the kind of guy, been in the building, knows the offense. Dak works well with him. Dak knows him. He knows Dak. I get all that. And he won't buck the system. He'll do exactly what they tell him to do. And then they'll probably put Jason Witten somewhere on the staff, which I'm not upset with him being on the staff. I'm just gonna be pissed off if you try to sell me that he should be a head coach because he had a successful high school coaching tenure. Which high school basketball in Texas is serious, but come on now, because you coach high school football don't mean you can be a high school, can be a head coach in the NFL, man. I'm not going. You're not going to ever let me believe that. But can he be on the staff? Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Because that's the next step, you know. Because I think Jerry wants to create in Dallas what's going on in Detroit. You know, oh, Dan Campbell, because he's played here too. Tight end, big macho guy, tight end, and whatnot. And he's like, well, shoot, we can do that with Jason Witten. He's our Dan Campball. Yeah, but what you it's two things you forgetting in that scenario. You forgetting that number one, Dan Campbell was has about 8 to 10 years of head coach of associate head coach and on coaching staffs in the NFL, both at the I think the Miami Dolphins and the New Orleans Saints before he got the job in Detroit. And number two, he got superstar coordinators at the offensive and defensive levels. So if you're gonna hire a guy like that that's not an X's and O guy, you better have some strong X and O guys working under him. Okay. Because your offense got to be, your defense got to be, whatever. So unless you get ready to hire you a wizard at the offensive and defensive coordinator positions, you can't hire that guy. You can't hire Jason Witten. Now, one of the things I had heard that why the things that made Mike McCarthy kind of balk at taking the job or keeping his position was that you was trying to bring Jason Witten on the staff and he kind of could see the tea leaves. No, you bringing him in to be my successor. You basically bringing him in to be somebody that kind of watch me and take over for me in a couple of years when you pissed off at me, kind of like they did with uh, uh, um, what's his name? How they did with Jason Garrett to Wade Phillips. You get the job, but you got to keep Jason Garrett. Or they did Mike McCarthy. You get the job, but you got to keep Kellen Moore. But so he kept Kellen Moore at an arm's length to where you're not gonna take my job, you know. And I think they was kind of wanting to do the same thing with Dan Quinn, but Dan Quinn kind of saw the writing on the wall and said, "Look, let me get the heck out of here, and get with a real organization." Which I hate to say that the Commanders are a real organization. That we're not, but anyway, who they'll probably hire is Kellen Moore because it's a comfortable position. Somebody wrote in one of the chats on I want to say it was I don't want to say if it was A to Z Sports, if it was Mike Fisher's, but the Cowboy front office would like to be comfortable and wrong than aggressive and uncomfortable and right. So that's what they'd like to be. They'd like to be comfortable. So Kellen Moore is comfortable. And that's not, I'm not going to take nothing away from him. He's done a good job in Philadelphia. I thought he was going to fall flat on his face because I was like, man, that dude going to be trying to throw freaking option routes and all this stuff and running a lot of trick plays and all that kind of stuff, which he would do with us at the wrong possible time. And would he really and not do what he should do? Dude, you got Saquon Barkley. Just hand the ball to him and then just have Jalen do some, read option stuff, have him run when you see a certain level of people in the box, take off and run with it because he can run and then make uh, the easy throws, the tight end throws on single coverage, which you're gonna get with the offensive line that they have and the running back that they have. You're always gonna have one-on-one coverage and AJ and Smitty always gonna be able to beat single coverage. So his throws are always gonna be easy. So and I said hopefully Kellen can't mess that up, right? But that's who they're probably gonna pick, and it would not be surprised me if a week from now the Cowboys have announced, especially after the Eagles season is over, which I'm hoping is next week. I hope it ain't, whatever, because if they win next week, they go to the Super Bowl and whatever. Um, but Yeah, I expect the announcement to be made. Cowboys have made an offer to Kellen Moore as their head coach. I look for that to take place, and I like that, some of the offense will be good and whatnot. He got a familiarity with Dak. Maybe he'll do some things that are beneficial to Dak. Um, Let me say this. One of the things that pissed me off about the Cowboys, and I talked about it in the open, is our approach to the game. Our approach is antiquated, and it's old school and antiquated. We believe there's only one way to run the team, only one way to acquire talent, only one way to call and run plays. Only certain types of offenses win or run. And how do you say that? Well, I said something a couple of years ago on I think it was earlier this year, maybe sometime last year in one of my videos. It was something in my observation, and I heard it today on a video by DLL Dallas by one Clarence Hill. Uh, the writer used to be with I think Dallas, the Fort Worth Star Telegram, and it may have been with Dallas Morning News once upon a time. But he said something that he said no, we got a certain way that we do stuff. And he says that, and even the way that they have handled Dak, it's not been did not make sense. He said if you watch any of his tape at Mississippi State, you will see he threw he kind of plays like Jalen Hurts plays. Big, but he's bigger than Jalen. He's been 240 ever since he's been 18, 19 years old. Runs it, pull it and run it, and can throw the pass, can take off and pitch it, run it, all that stuff. And so if you were smart, you would have built the offense around that aspect of his game and allowed that transition to, the NFL quarterback would have been made much easier. Kind of sort of like how the Commanders are doing with Jaden Daniels. You notice they're not using the same offense for him that they used for Sam Howell last year, who threw it 50 times a game. It's a different guy, different dude. So it requires a different offense, different skill set. Why would you force Dak Prescott to be a pocket passer? And see, now he's at an age where his mobility is limited, but we could have, man, don't you know, in his first couple of years, man, we could have had defenses on skates, man, with that. Dak could pull it and run it and go for 45 yards. Oh, dang, that means that defensive end's got to stay and kind of keep that, can't overcommit because Dak could pull it. Or if he don't commit, Dak could give it to Zeke. That mesh point with the Zeke running and Dak pulling it, defenses would have been pulling their hair out. But we wanted to go pro set, I formation. Okay, whatever, man. And I thought we wasted some good years of Dak. And now he's at a time in his career where he's beat down and he's now only a pocket passer. Only runs every so often. And when he tried to run one time this year, pulled his whole freaking hamstring off the bone. Okay? Because somebody brought it to his attention. You done ran for less yards than Joe Flacco. So yeah, that whole way that we do things, we got a set of plays and we try to tailor make the players to the plays that we run instead of taking an inventory of the players we have and tailor making an offense based on the skill set of those players. Like for instance, I think we totally missed the mark on how to use a guy like Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, count how many times you done seen Brandon Cooks run an 8-yard slant route in the middle of right behind linebackers in front of safeties and get hit and get dislodged from the football. You know why that is? Because Brandon Cook is 5'9" and 185 pounds. That's why. That's a route for a 6'2", 200-pound guy that can get in there and is physical. You don't run little guys in there on slants. Too much going on in there. You don't do it. Guys of Brandon Cook's size and his skills and his speed should be running 9 routes, deep digs, crossers, and these sort of things. But you don't see him running slant patterns and running the 10 yards at the sticks and turn around, or jump balls at the sideline. He's 5'9", trying to jump. Dude, he's 5'9". That's when you're not tailoring the offense to your personnel. You're tailor making the personnel to your offense. not smart. That's old school football. That's outdoor plumbing type stuff. Yeah, I'm from Alabama. Back in the day, a lot of us used to have outdoor plumbing. They had outhouses, and until about like the 80s, the mid 80s. I'm not talking about me. I'm just talking about some of the rural places in Alabama where, in this state, you used to hear about, people having outdoor plumbing, you know, and that's like, or I could say maybe you not having home internet. How about that? No Wi-Fi at the home. Every home got Wi-Fi or internet now. That's old school for you to be like, oh, I gotta go to the library and do. I got a paper due. That's the Cowboys. Or here's one: here the Cowboys go to the meeting with an actual checkbook to write checks. That's how old school they are in their approach. And the whole world, the whole league, then changed, and they're still doing the same thing. So I'm gonna share something with y'all, and people will look at the Commanders and they'll say like, and it's amazing because Jalen Daniels is won as many playoff games as Dak Prescott has won, and Dak Prescott going into his ninth or 10th year. This is his rookie year. He already won as many playoff games as him. And on the surface, you would say that's a dig at Dak, but is it really? Is it really? Could we have done some things better and Dak would have been better his early years and we could have won some games? Because a lot of them games early in the playoffs, we never got running game going. Okay. Because we would just, our formation, run it and throw it. Like I said, we ran the same offense for Dak we did for Tony Romo. Two totally different quarterbacks. Okay. When the Eagles went from Carson Wentz to Jalen Hurts, they changed the offense to fit Jalen. Not hard to do, but we do things our way, right? But I'm gonna share something with y'all. Uh, they talked to them. I'm gonna share my screen here. Uh, I want y'all to listen to something that was said. Um, Something that was said when they asked Magic Johnson when they took over the Commanders how his leadership and the ownership approach and their roles would be. Listen to this. I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
This man right here. No, this is serious. You said, what does it take? New vision, new owner with a strategy, picking the right people. First, our coach, Coach Quinn, Adam Peters, and then
You heard that, right? New vision, new ownership, the players, Coach Quinn. We do it, and we step out the way and let them do their job. Okay, that's the new way the stuff is done, right? Let me let you know. Let me show you what Jerry does. Let me share this with you. Let me show this with you, just to show you the difference, the two different approaches. Let's see. Yeah, here we go.
Bought the team. I think the first thing that came out of my mouth. Anybody here was at that press conference? Okay, somebody asked, did you buy this for your kids? And I said, hell no, I bought it for me. And I didn't buy an investment. I bought an occupation. And I bought something that I was going to do. I was 46. I bought something I was going to do for the rest of my life. And that's what I'm doing. And so, no. The facts are that since I have to decide where the money's spent, then you might as well cut all the bullshit out.
Uh, Hold on, hold on.
Man,
There we go. I had to stop that because that was the next thing that was coming out there. So we're back on the yeah, that was the next video link to that. So it was about the Fugazi podcast. I listened to that also. But anyway, you saw the two different um philosophies. One where, hey, we're gonna allow the people to do their job, get out the way, give them all the resources they need, and get out the way. And the other one's like, I'm gonna control everything. We're gonna do everything. I'm gonna do. I might as well. I'm spending the money anyway. Might as well just take all the middlemen out of it and just do our, whatever. So basically saying, I'm not changing to any of this stuff. No matter what happens, no matter what the thing does, I'm gonna do it this way. And I think we're in for I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't know. So anyhow, to get my mind off it, I watched a lot of the stuff, the football and stuff that goes on around the country. I watched all the playoff games. I watched the Lions lose to the Commanders 45-31. I saw the Kansas City Chiefs beat the uh, Houston, Texas 23-14. And it's what sets up and then of course the games yesterday, we saw Philadelphia in a driving snowstorm beat the um, Los Angeles Rams 28-22. Came down to a sack by not Jordan Davis, by Jalen Carter late in the game, which I think would have allowed the Rams to get a touchdown late if he'd have had time to throw it, and they would have won it if they'd hit the extra point. It'd have been 29-28, but the Eagles won it. And then, of course, the last night's game, we saw the um, Buffalo Bills beat the Baltimore Ravens. I think it was 27-25. And Mark Andrews, man, I've been shouting Mark Andrews as being the best tight end in the NFL, and that kind of looks kind of crazy now because he kind of single-handedly, the little got the ball punched out on a first down catch, trying to get extra yards when what extra yards wasn't there to be had, and then the 2-point conversion where that sprint right option plays the same play Patrick Mahomes hit Nicole Hardeman on in the game last year against the 49ers. Sprint right, the receiver kind of fakes like he's going in the middle and fades to the corner, throws it, he's wide open. And Mark Andrews played that same, and the ball hit him right in the hand. Whatever, man. Reason I brought those up is because in our 4-team championship round, you got the Commanders versus the Eagles, and you got the Bills versus the Chiefs. You got 4 mobile quarterbacks. It would have been even more mobile had, Lamar made it. It was a drop pass from doing it. And the league has changed to move in the pocket, more mobile, because it does different things to the defense. It makes the defense have to guard and cover every blade of grass. But we want to try to make everything pocket, 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 pocket. It's easy to defend when your quarterback is a moving target. I saw about 8, 9, 10 plays this weekend where everything was covered, whether it was Jaden Daniels, whether it was Jalen Hurts, whether it was, and of course now, Matt Stafford probably won it. I even saw him take off and run for a first down. Okay. It was a little bit short. It was a 9-yard run, but even how many times you see Dak sit there and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, and then finally he'll try to do something way late and it's too late and he gets sacked. Throw it in the scoring drive. You think that's in him when you see his tape at Mississippi State, or you think that's something they've drilled in him? We want to make you a pocket passer. We're not about that running around stuff. I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering. But in the 4 games that you saw this week, and then the 2 games that'll be left, or the 4 quarterbacks that's left, and the 4 teams that's left, all of the quarterbacks I saw many times. Josh Allen, nobody open. He back patting, and he just take off and get 10, 15 yards. Get down. You know Patrick Mahomes can do it. Nothing open, he'll take off and get 15, 20 yards. Yeah, how many times you seen Jaden Daniels and nobody open, he'd take off, and he took off for big plays and get first downs and keep drives going. Not to run every play, but sometimes the defense wins that round. But if in covering everybody, you got the middle of the field or pockets of the field that's wide open. If you take off and run it, that means that's something they gotta worry about. But we have bought into this thing. No, we believe in the pocket passer. We believe, and it's sort of an old school game. And maybe we need to get somebody in here. Now, of course, you could say, well, if you get Kellen in here, Kellen has got Jalen. Yeah, but when he come back, because people become different people when they come back into the star. Because Dan Quinn looked like the same coach at Commanders that he does at. And I tell you something else. It ain't just the coaches; the players do other stuff when they leave here. Let me run down something for you. And we're gonna close this video. I'm about to get mad and watching the basketball game now, and the national championship game about to come on here in about 30 minutes. Go Irish. Anybody but Ohio State. Y'all know if y'all watch the Pick'em show, I picked Notre Dame. TK picked Ohio State because he went with the chalk. He went with the better team. I went with gut feeling, which I do a lot of the times. Let me let you know on some players that used to play for the Cowboys and they play different. If you watch the Eagles and Rams game yesterday, you'll notice sometime late in the third quarter, Jalen Hurts got sacked in the end zone for a safety. You know who sacked him for that safety? One Neville Gallimore. That name ring a bell? It should. We drafted him back in 21, I think. And we finally, you know what, man, we'll let this guy walk. I think he ended up on the Saints and he ended up on the Rams, and he had a sack yesterday's game. He also had 2 sacks in their win against the Vikings. So that dude has 3 postseason sacks. I don't know if that looks like 3 or not. All right. I think he's got like 4 tackles and 3 sacks, 4 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. How about Dante Fowler? He's got like 4 tackles and 2. Dorrance Armstrong. I'm sorry, Dorrance Armstrong. He's got like 5 tackles. He's got 2.5 sacks in his 2 playoff games. What about Noah Igbenogany? You ever remember him? He's a guy we got in the Kelvin Joseph trade to Miami. He scored the touchdown in our first game against the Giants last year on that block kick return. Well, after this year, they let him go. He ended up going with the Commanders, right? Yeah. He took Dante, Dorrance, and Noah Igbenogany. Noah Igbenogany has 4 tackles and 2 tackles for loss in his 2 playoff games as a corner. Okay? And remember Muhammad, Al-Qadeed Muhammad? He had a tackle for loss in the Lions game against them. So guys that left the Cowboys building as players. You see Dan Quinn, him and Joe Witt Jr. is the defensive coordinator. Yeah, they picked off Jared Goff 3 times, returning 1 for a touchdown, and had 4 interceptions in total because Jameson Williams threw 1. And got a strip sack fumble from Jared Goff. So those guys did well when they left the Cowboys facility. So what makes you think that Kellen Moore will leave the Philadelphia facility and come to the Cowboys and be better and come back and take what he learned there and bring it back here? Because what'll probably happen, they'll tell him they probably have to decommission him or deregulate him and say, no, we got to get you reacclimated to the Cowboy way. Let me tell you the difference, and we get ready to close. And to show you how we think in comparison to how like the Eagles think. Now we know last year both teams were in the same boat. Both teams had high expectations. The Eagles had went to the Super Bowl the year before. You know, we had gotten rid of Kellen Moore the year before and had Mike McCarthy's first year in the Texas Coast offense. So we had some great things coming, but the season started mediocre and ended well. We ended up winning 5 of our last 6 games and going 12-5 and back into the division title, number 2 seed. Okay, which is what the Eagles are this year, the number 2 seed. Okay. Eagles were 10-1 and ended up losing 5 of their last 6 games. Ended up going 11-6. We got beat 48-32 in the championship in the division round, and wild card round. The Eagles got beat 32-9 in the division round. Got beat by 23, and we got beat by 16. Really, it was 48-14 to be perfect. It's 16 to be perfectly honest with you, but that's not either here or there. But we both got beat badly in our one and only playoff appearances. Now, what did we do? We said, heck with it. We're going to dismantle the whole team. We're going to let a whole bunch of players walk. We ain't going to do jack in free agency. We ain't going to re-sign nobody. We're not going to re-sign none of the coaches. Basically, we pissed off and we mad. We're going to let everybody know how mad we are because we're going to make y'all twist in the wind. Meanwhile, now, what if the Eagles had done that? And I know what you're going to say. Yeah, Uncle Fred, but Dak makes $60 million a year. And he wasn't able to make nothing shake. He wasn't able to do anything. Okay, fair. But the fallacy in that line of thinking is this thinking that just because you pay your quarterback, he don't need help. This ain't one-on-one. This ain't the NBA. Okay? So by the same token, the Eagles should have said, well, Jalen, we just wrote you a check for $50 million, $52, $53 million for a period of time there around like February or March of last year. Jalen Hurts was the highest paid player in the NFL. Then it was Joe Burrow. Then it was Josh Herbert. Then it was Herbert. Then it was Tua. Then it was Trevor Lawrence. Then it was Dak. You know, just kind of went up the ladder. So what if the Eagles had said, "Well, Jalen, we just gave you $52 million, man. We're just gonna have to go running back by committee, and we just gonna have to punt on free agency." And if Howie Roseman had went to Jeffrey Lurie and said that, he'd have got fired. No, we're always trying to win. But Jerry, because he can't be fired, can say that because ain't nothing going to happen to him, right? So not only did they go and not go running back by committee. No, we ain't going to re-sign DeAndre Swift. We're going to let him go to the Bears. And we're just going to go with Kenneth Gainwell. We're going to go with Kenneth Gainwell and some guys we draft. No, we're going to go get Saquon Barkley and pay him $13 million. So you trying to tell me if I pay a quarterback $50 million, I still got to go pay a running back $13 million if I want to win? And the answer to that is yes, if you want to win. You mean to tell me if I pay my quarterback $50 million, I still got to go and sign free agents? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. That's why they went and signed Zach Bond. You ever seen Zach Bond? Zach Bond is a Pro Bowler they got from the New Orleans Saints. Pro Bowler, you know. They come back and got C.J. Gardner Johnson. I think he had a turnover in their first playoff game, if I'm not mistaken. And also had a turnover against us. So they went and got him, went and got Jahan Dotson, wide receiver. They went and got, various guys and drafted well. So you mean to tell me if you pay a quarterback, that means you still got to be active in free agency? You still got to pay other guys? You still got to still put a team together? See, that's what you do if you're trying to win, okay? Everybody's like, yeah, we paid Dak 60. We can't do nothing else. Don't let them fool you. They can do anything they want to. They just chose not to. What Jerry did this offseason was did what impetuous little children do when they don't get their way. When they lost and they got embarrassed in the playoff, he held his breath and covered his ears and stomped his feet. Stuff that if I was done with, if I'd have done as a child, I'd have got my backside tore up for. But that's what he did. He was a petulant little child, and he didn't do anything to teach them a lesson. Because he knew the fan base would blame the players. Well, Dak, the playoffs get so big for him, his eyes get big, and he can't do anything. It's like, no, but why not make it easy for him? Like they done made it easy for Jalen. Like they make it easy for Brock Purdy. Like they make it easy for Jalen Daniels. They make the offense easy for them. That's what you do. So that everybody is easy. Now, you shouldn't have to be trying to do Chinese arithmetic on every play. Dak shouldn't always have to set up the protections, do all this other stuff, make all the reads, do all this stuff, and make sure all the running backs in the right place, get us into the right play. Because the other quarterback, Jalen Daniels, I promise you, ain't doing that. I promise you, Jalen Hurts ain't doing that. Now, a guy like Matt Stafford's probably doing that because he a vet. He's a 13, 14-year vet. Of course he's doing that, But he also got Sean McVay. Sean McVay got some stuff in there that make the offense easy. But I don't know, man. I can gripe all day about the Cowboys. It's not going to change anything. Everything going to be the same. We'll still do the same thing we're doing. But I was just hoping and praying that sitting back and watching your two divisional foes do things the right way and their efforts get rewarded by going to the NFC Championship game is something we ain't done since 95. As a matter of fact, in the NFC, every team has been to the NFC Championship game since us. Redskins or the Commanders were the last team because they hadn't been since 91. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here, man. I really don't. Um, but anyway, man, that's all I got, man. Sad days ahead. Oh yeah, just so you know, the right before I went on the video today, the Chicago Bears have hired Ben Johnson as head coach. So that's the one off the thing. That's the guy we should have got to early. It befuzzles me, man, how you don't see teams that's doing it right and doing things that are successful. You don't go into those organizations, get those people into your organization. It just befuddles me how you don't do that. But Ben Johnson's got hired by the Chicago Bears, and he's hired as his defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, who used to be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Other league news, the Indianapolis Colts have hired Louis Ariema, who was the defensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals, who got fired because, of course, they had to fire somebody because Joe Burrow didn't get in the playoffs after having an MVP type season. The defense was not good. Somebody has to. It can't be Mike Brown is cheap. Can't be that. It's got to be somebody got to be pay the price for that. So Louis Ariema goes 100 miles to the east and goes to Indianapolis for the Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator's job. And the Raiders are still looking. I think they were in talks to be hiring Ben Johnson, but so the Bears stepped it up and said we better get him before the Raiders get him. And it's believed that Aaron Glenn is going to be going to the either the New York Jets or the New Orleans Saints. And if he don't get the Jets and he goes to the New Orleans Saints, then that means that Mike McCarthy will probably be, X'd out here because I think he's a good candidate to be the New Orleans Saints coach, and I think Aaron Glenn's probably the guy for New York Jets because I believe that he played there like he played here, but I think he's been told that probably he'll have more say in a lot of different things. He probably just feels closer to the Jets. He played longer in his career there. He played there for Parcells. So But I'd love to get him in Dallas. Maybe he would change some things. But yeah, he'll probably go there, and of course, we'll just see how this thing goes. But man, I didn't mean to run no hour, man. That's just a long time, man, for me to be ranting. But Cowboys, man, we just kind of gotta figure out what we're doing, man. Figure out what we're doing. We gotta figure out. We gotta move into 2025, man. We gotta stop using 2000 methodology. It's 2025, man. Things have changed on this side. Okay. But anyway, man, that's all I got, man. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. And let's tune in to the national championship, CFP championship game tonight. Go Fighting Irish. And we'll catch you guys on the next video. And happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day today. We'll catch you guys. God bless. We'll catch you guys on the next video.
Two times on the beat.